Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. The wind was blowing hard that evening through the narrow streets of Hawthorne, a small town known for its secrets and whispers. On the corner of an alley, Evelyn, a healer renowned for her mysterious talents, was preparing her potions in the flickering light of a lantern. A cry suddenly rang out. A pale, feverish boy was staggering, crying. Without hesitation, Evelyn scooped him into her arms and carried him home. The next few hours were a battle against illness, fever, convulsions, anguish. But thanks to her herbs and ancestral wisdom, the boy slowly began to recover. As he regained consciousness, he murmured, "Mom." Evelyn froze. But before she could react, the boy said another name, a name that made her heart beat faster. "Dad, he's very rich, he lives in the big house at the top of the hill." The room seemed to light up all at once. Evelyn realized that this wasn't just any child. The boy's father was Nathaniel Carrington, the most powerful and wealthiest man in the city. The man everyone respected and feared. The weight of the discovery hit Evelyn hard. She had just saved not only a child's life, but also found herself at the center of a world she never imagined she would encounter. The question now burned on her lips: would she remain in the shadows or confront the Carrington family? The next morning, Evelyn woke up with the boy's face still etched in her mind. Lucas, as he was called, was sleeping peacefully in a small bed she had improvised in her living room. His cheeks were regaining color, and his regular breathing brought her unexpected relief. But Evelyn knew the peace would be short-lived. The boy's whispers about his father had haunted her all night. She knew Nathaniel Carrington wasn't a man one could easily approach. His house, perched atop the hill, was surrounded by imposing walls and silent guards. Suddenly, a light tap on the door made her jump. She rushed over and found Mrs. Vickers, the curious neighbor, watching her intently. "Evelyn, you know that this boy is not just anyone, don't you?" she said, lowering her voice. "What do you mean?" replied Evelyn, defensively. Mrs. Vickers looked around before whispering. "His father. Nathaniel Carrington. Everyone in town knows him. And now you've saved him. You should prepare yourself for what's coming." Evelyn felt a mixture of fear and excitement. She looked at Lucas, who slowly opened his eyes and smiled faintly at her. "Thank you, madam," he murmured in a weak voice. That single word sparked a newfound determination in Evelyn. She knew she had to protect Lucas at all costs, even if it meant confronting the most powerful man in Hawthorne. Little did she know that this decision would change her life forever. A few days later, Evelyn could no longer ignore the insistent stares and whispers circulating in Hawthorne. The rumor of a boy mysteriously healed by the healer had spread like wildfire. That evening, as she was preparing tea for Lucas, a black carriage suddenly stopped in front of her modest house. Two men in dark suits got out and knocked on the door. Evelyn felt her heart race. She opened the door and found herself face to face with two imposing guards. "Mrs. Evelyn Carter?" one of them asked, his voice cold. "Yes, it's me. What do you want?" she replied, trying to appear calm. The guard gestured, and behind him, Nathaniel Carrington appeared. He was more impressive than she had imagined, tall, elegant, with a penetrating gaze that seemed to probe her soul. "You took care of my son," Nathaniel said in a deep voice. "Why?" Evelyn felt a shiver run down her spine. She knew that one mistake could ruin everything. "Sir, he was ill. I did only what I could to save him," she replied softly, while hiding her nervousness. Nathaniel stepped forward and observed Lucas, who was sleeping peacefully on the bed. His eyes softened slightly, but he maintained his authoritative tone. "You must understand that Lucas is my son. Everything concerning him is my responsibility." Evelyn felt the tension in the room, but she couldn't back down now. "I understand, sir. But he was in danger, and he needed immediate care." For the first time, Nathaniel seemed to think deeply. After a long silence, he said. Very well. You saved his life. But from today on, I want to know everything about Lucas. Understood? Evelyn nodded, aware that this encounter was only the beginning of a complex and potentially explosive relationship. She had just entered the world of the Carrington family, a world of power, secrets, and danger. In the days that followed, Evelyn found herself torn between caring for Lucas and the strict instructions of Nathaniel Carrington. The billionaire demanded detailed reports on his son's every step forward, and Evelyn, though nervous, complied. One afternoon, while she was preparing a potion to relieve Lucas's fever, Nathaniel entered the room, this time without guards. His face was serious, almost pensive. Evelyn, he began, hesitating slightly, there's something you need to know about Lucas. Evelyn looked at him, intrigued and anxious. When Lucas was born, Nathaniel continued, his voice almost breaking, his mother left shortly after. I never knew exactly why. There are details that even I don't fully understand. Evelyn felt a shiver, something in this confession seemed heavy with secrets. And, do you think that could be related to her health? She asked gently. Nathaniel shook his head. No, not directly. But I want you to know that Lucas is special. There are things in our family, traditions, legacies, that can influence his life. Evelyn felt a mixture of fear and fascination. She realized that caring for Lucas was not just a matter of physical health, she had just plunged into a complex web of family secrets and power. That night, Evelyn stayed awake, watching Lucas sleep peacefully. She wondered what hidden truths Nathaniel hadn't yet revealed and if she was ready to face everything this family had to offer. But one thing was clear, she couldn't back down now. Lucas was counting on her, and the healer knew that her role had just become much more than simple healing. She was now the guardian of a secret that could change the lives of everyone around her. A week later, the fragile tranquility that reigned in the Carrington house was brutally shattered. Evelyn had barely finished preparing a cup of tea for Lucas when shouts rang out from the garden. She rushed outside and saw a hooded man trying to approach Nathaniel's carriage. Without thinking, Evelyn grabbed Lucas and carried him inside. The guards went on alert, but the speed of the attack left little time for them to react. Nathaniel arrived running, furious and worried. "Who are you?" he yelled, upon seeing the intruder. The hooded man then lunged at Evelyn, but Nathaniel was faster and intercepted him. A brief, violent struggle ensued. Finally, the mysterious assailant was subdued. Breathless, Evelyn looked at Nathaniel, who stared intently at her. "You put him in danger," he said, his voice trembling between anger and relief. "I was only protecting Lucas," she replied, defending her actions. Nathaniel took a deep breath, then seemed to think. "You're right. But this incident proves one thing, there are people who know, who want to get to my son. You must be vigilant." That evening, Evelyn realized that caring for Lucas wasn't just about physical healing, she had been drawn into a dangerous game of power and secrets. And while she had thought the Carrington family was merely wealthy and influential, she was now discovering that this wealth also attracted covetousness and threats. Watching Lucas sleep peacefully, Evelyn felt a new determination, she would protect this child at all costs, even if it meant facing Hawthorne's darkest dangers. But she was still unaware that the true secret of the Carrington family would soon be revealed, shattering everything she thought she knew about Lucas, and about herself. The days following the attack were tense. Evelyn cared for Lucas even more vigilantly, all the while trying to understand the true extent of the threat. But Nathaniel, though impressive and powerful, remained distant. His gaze often seemed lost in a painful memory. One evening, while Evelyn was putting away the vials in her workshop, Nathaniel entered without warning. He was holding an old wooden box, covered in dust. "Evelyn. I think you need to know the truth about Lucas." Evelyn felt her heart beat faster. She gently laid Lucas on his bed and followed Nathaniel into the living room. He opened the box and took out letters, old photos, and a small gold locket. "Lucas isn't like other children," Nathaniel explained, handing him the medallion. "His mother was special. She belonged to a line of healers, just like you. She left me this medallion the day she passed away, telling me that Lucas had a gift that needed to be protected. Evelyn observed the small object with fascination. She immediately recognized the symbols engraved on it, ancient signs related to healing and protection. So, her power comes from her mother, she murmured. Exactly, replied Nathaniel, his voice filled with emotion. And that's why some people want to get to him. They know what he's capable of. Evelyn then understood that Lucas's illness was only the beginning. His life, his health, and even his future were bound to forces that few could comprehend. The healer felt a mixture of fear and responsibility. Protecting Lucas now meant protecting a legacy, an ancient power that some were willing to do anything to seize. That night, Evelyn kept vigil beside Lucas, clutching the locket to her heart. She knew her role had changed forever. She was no longer just a healer, she was now the guardian of Hawthorne's most precious secret. A few days later, Evelyn sensed an unsettling change in the air. The streets of Hawthorne seemed quieter, and even Nathaniel's guards appeared nervous. She knew Lucas's safety could never be taken lightly. That evening, as she was preparing an infusion for Lucas, she heard a faint creaking at the window. Her healer's senses, always alert, immediately went on high alert. She approached silently and saw a hooded figure trying to slip inside. Without wasting a second, Evelyn grabbed Lucas and hid him behind a screen. The figure entered the room, and Evelyn realized she wasn't alone. 3 other masked individuals were following. "Who are you? What do you want?" she cried, her voice betraying her fear. One of the intruders laughed in an icy tone. "We know what your little protégé possesses, and we want that power." Evelyn felt panic rising, but she couldn't show her fear to Lucas. She then remembered the teachings of Lucas's mother and the symbols on the medallion. Taking a deep breath, she placed the medallion in her hands and whispered the words she had learned. A soft light then emanated from the medallion, illuminating the room and repelling the intruders. Dazzled and disoriented, they retreated and finally fled, vowing to return. Nathaniel, alerted by the noise, came running and saw Evelyn trembling but standing, with Lucas safe in her arms. "You managed to repel them?" he asked, astonished. "I had no choice," Evelyn murmured. "Lucas had to be protected." Nathaniel looked at her with a mixture of respect and gratitude. "You are not only her healer, you are her protector. And soon, we will all have to learn to face what is coming." That night, Evelyn realized that the danger was only the beginning. The Carrington family's wealth and power weren't just a blessing, they attracted the most dangerous enemies. And protecting Lucas would require all the courage and wisdom she possessed. A few days after the attack, Evelyn and Nathaniel knew that danger still lurked. Evelyn spent her days caring for Lucas and her nights pondering the true identity of the intruders. But an unexpected lead emerged when an anonymous messenger left a small package on her doorstep. Inside, there was a letter and a photo. One of the assailants, a masked man whom Evelyn had briefly glimpsed, was a former associate of Nathaniel's, a man named Victor Hargrove, once a partner in secret and dubious affairs. The letter, written in a threatening tone, read, "Nathaniel believes his son is safe. He's wrong. Lucas possesses what I've coveted for years. Get ready, it all starts soon." Evelyn felt a chill run down her spine. This wasn't just a thief or a stranger, this was someone who knew the Carrington family and their secrets intimately. She understood then that the threat came from within Nathaniel's own world. She showed the photo to Nathaniel. His face paled when he recognized Victor. "He's always been jealous, and dangerous," he murmured. "He thinks Lucas can give him what he's never been able to have, power and control over the healer lineage." Evelyn realized that the danger was deeper than she had imagined. Lucas wasn't just threatened by strangers, he was at the heart of a conspiracy that could destroy the Carrington family and reveal secrets that had been hidden for generations. That night, Evelyn kept watch with Lucas in her arms, the medallion glowing softly. She knew she had to prepare herself, and that she was no longer just a healer, she had become the key to protecting an ancient legacy and a child with an exceptional destiny. But the real test would soon come. Victor Hargrove would stop at nothing to get what he wanted. A few nights later, a heavy atmosphere hung over the Carrington house. Evelyn had sensed for several days that Victor Hargrove was up to something. She had increased security around Lucas and begun teaching the boy some simple protective measures, based on his mother's teachings. That night, as the rain beat against the windows, screams and the sounds of breaking glass echoed through the house. Evelyn rushed to Lucas and grabbed him in her arms, running towards the safe room she had prepared. Victor and his masked men had entered the house. But Evelyn, anticipating this attack, had prepared several protective measures based on the symbols on the medallion. She quickly drew protective circles around the room and whispered the words she had learned from Lucas's mother. A bright flash exploded, and Victor was thrown backward, disoriented. His men were stopped dead in their tracks by the energy emanating from the medallion and Evelyn's rituals. "You'll never be able to touch Lucas," Evelyn cried, courage stirring in her voice despite the fear. Nathaniel arrived with his guards, regaining control of the situation. Victor, furious and humiliated, escaped into the night, vowing to return stronger. After the attack, Nathaniel placed a hand on Evelyn's shoulder, a mixture of gratitude and respect. "You saved Lucas, and you saved our family. You are much more than a healer, Evelyn. You have become his protector." Evelyn, breathless but resolute, looked at Lucas, who was staring at her with eyes shining with admiration and trust. She understood that their bond had just become unbreakable. But she also knew that Victor wouldn't give up. This attack was just a taste of what was to come. And to protect Lucas and the secret of her bloodline, Evelyn had to prepare to face even more powerful and dangerous forces. After Victor's attack, Evelyn realized that protecting Lucas required more than just her healing skills. She needed to seek help, and fast. One morning, while on her way to the market to buy rare herbs, she met Amelia Rhodes, a mysterious woman who seemed to know a lot about the distant lineages of healers and the secrets of the influential families of Hawthorne. "You are looking to protect a special child, aren't you?" asked Amelia, her piercing eyes fixed on Evelyn. "Yes, how do you know that?" replied Evelyn suspiciously. Amelia smiled slightly. "Let's just say I have my sources. And I can help you. But for that to happen, you have to accept that Lucas is much more than you think. He possesses an ancient power that many covet." Evelyn felt a chill. Amelia's words confirmed all her fears. Lucas was not just a sick boy she had saved, he was at the center of an ancient and dangerous legacy. "Okay, but how can you help us?" asked Evelyn. Amelia took out an old grimoire, filled with ancient symbols and forgotten stories. "I can teach you how to protect Lucas, how to gradually awaken his powers, and how to strengthen the medallion he wears. But it will take courage and determination, and you will have to trust someone you have only just met." Evelyn hesitated, but looked at Lucas sleeping in her arms. Her decision was instantaneous. "Very well. We accept your help." This unexpected alliance would change everything. With Amelia by their side, Evelyn and Lucas would learn to control the power that lay dormant within him. But Evelyn knew that Victor Hargrove, with his jealousy and thirst for power, wouldn't remain idle. A new era of protection, learning, and revelations was beginning for Evelyn and Lucas. And soon, the child's true potential would emerge, forever changing their destiny and that of the Carrington family. In the following weeks, Evelyn, Amelia, and Lucas worked tirelessly. Thanks to Amelia's teachings, Lucas began to understand and control the power that lay dormant within him. The symbols on the medallion shone brighter when he used his gifts, and Evelyn realized that he could not only protect himself, but also those he loved. One night, as the moon illuminated the Carrington house, a howl rang out from the nearby forest. Victor Hargrove had returned, this time accompanied by armed and determined men. Evelyn hugged Lucas tightly, while Amelia quickly drew protective circles around the house. Victor stepped forward, a cruel smile on his lips. "You cannot escape your destiny, Nathaniel. This boy belongs to me." But Lucas, despite his fear, stood tall. His eyes shone with an intense light, and the medallion projected a luminous beam that repelled the attackers. Evelyn felt her heart beat with pride and fear. Lucas's power had just fully awakened. Let us go. Lucas shouted, his voice firm and full of strength. Victor was dazzled by the energy emanating from the child and recoiled, unable to breach the protective circle. His men, terrified, fled. Victor, humiliated, swore he would return, but this time he understood that Lucas was no longer a mere child to be manipulated. Nathaniel approached Evelyn and Lucas, his voice trembling with emotion. You did it, you protected what we hold most dear. Evelyn looked at Lucas, her eyes shining with pride. We did it together. And as long as I'm here, I'll always protect you. For the first time in a long time, the Carrington household seemed at peace. But Evelyn knew their adventure wasn't over. With Lucas's power awakened, new responsibilities and new dangers awaited them. However, one thing was certain, together, they were invincible. And the future, although full of challenges, suddenly seemed filled with hope.